family. At this time, could we please stand for prayer? In a manner in which you are most comfortable, follow along silently. Surely I am being turned to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright to he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he in this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant, and I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me into the best of morals, for none can guide to the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn from me the evil and the indecent morals but thee. And O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as thou did make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. For surely thou art praised and magnified. Ameen. You may be seated. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, we give praise and thanks to Allah for his coming and appearing to us in the personage of Master W. Farad Muhammad. We're eternally grateful to him that after 3 years and 4 months, he gave to us his wise choice in a messenger, Messiah, and now the exalted and living Christ in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And to the two of them, if we lived 1,000 years, we can never thank them for the gift that they've given to us in the form of a man and this messianic figure that walks among us today. He's our leader, teacher, guide, friend, confidant, and our champion, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I'd like to greet you all once again with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. How are we this morning, family? All praise is due to Allah. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being in your seats on time, and thank you for submitting to the check procedure. For the only admittance into the building is that you submit to the check procedure and that you be your beautiful black self. So apparently all who are here today met the criterion, and here we are. We've come to receive a message, a word of truth, strength, light, life, and power that will cause us to be able to travel more securely through what is the scripture refers to as the valley of the shadow of death. And here we are, dear family, because everywhere we look today, we see nothing but strife, we see trials, we see difficulties. As I was sitting and talking to my brother, Brother Zebulon, a minute ago, he was talking about how he used to read in scripture as a little boy all the calamities that were existing, but he never thought that he would live to see it in the day that we live in. And here we are walking right through scripture in this very moment. Everything that's going on is already in the book. And if we read the book, right? Don't answer that. It's all right. But if we read the book, we know that what we see going on, it shouldn't come too much as it's a shock to us. However, it is very disturbing. You know, we never thought we'd see a day where we live in a land or in a time where we would see Sodom and Gomorrah multiplied times 1,000. We're walking in that. The murder, the mayhem, everywhere you look. In the scripture, it talks about the blood being up to the horse's bridle. And we see that, the horse is drowning in blood. That's how bad it is now. Every time you look up, somebody's shot. People shooting each other, children shooting each other, children shooting the parents, parents shooting the children. Be it intentional or accidental, it's still happening. And this is all in the scripture. Why? Because we are living in the end of this current world rulership. Emphasis on rulership. Because the planet obeys what Almighty God Allah has told it to do. It's not the planet that's going to be destroyed. It is a wicked and cruel, satanic mindset that is going to be removed. So much so, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the earth is carrying a weight that she shouldn't have to bear. And we know that in our lesson, we're taught that the earth weighs 6 sextillion tons. That is a 6 followed by 21 zeros. He said, well, you know, nothing new has come to the planet. Nothing leaves, nothing comes in without coming through fire. So even if something comes in, most of it is burned up before it hits the earth. But it's not talking about anything physical. It is a mindset, a spiritual thing that is a weight that the people shouldn't have to bear. Did you ever think you see today that the water that you drink, you almost have to boil it if you drink it from the sink? You got to boil water. That's frightening. I mean, here it is, the air is poisoned, the water is poisoned, the food is poisoned. So it creates what's called stress. And we come to a clinic every week to get, relief from the stress and the pains that when you're physically wounded or ill, right, you go to a hospital or a clinic, what they call it, urgent care. You go in there because you believe them folks in there got something that can help you with your given situation. Well, why do we come to the mosque? Minister Jabril, may Allah be pleased with him, he has a clip that he was talking about, well, it's actually a lecture. He was talking about why do we come to the Friday class, that's self-improvement, the basis for community development. He said these words, do we really know how important Friday night study sessions are? He said the mosque is an outpatient clinic. He says it's an emergency ward. It's an educational facility for new knowledge. It's a place where we get therapy. Anybody in here don't need therapy? Don't raise your hand, it's all right. I know you didn't raise your hand, you were fanning something. It's okay, bro, I saw you. But we all need it because mentally we're going through things. I know how you can tell you need therapy. You ever wake up, maybe go to the restroom or the bathroom late at night, or after you done went to sleep, it'd be early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you get up and you go and you come back and you lay back down and you can't go right to sleep because now you had wished you could have stayed asleep because now them thoughts that are in your mind, you're wrangling with them. Whatever they are. It could be personal, it could be job related, it could be house related, it could just be financial related. But it's something that's bothering you and you can't quite get a grip on it. When we go on to say, Minister Ava Muhammad, may Allah forever be pleased with our sister, she had written a book. It's an e-book. It was entitled, Can a Muslim Worry? That's the question. She started the book, it's a question. Can a Muslim worry? And then it says, the other part is, stop tormenting yourself. And then the other part, there's 2 books in one, Overcoming Burnout. Let me read something that she says in the book, if you don't mind. Y'all don't mind if I read, do you? Okay. Number 1, the question is asked. She says, what is worry? And the definition is, worry means to feel uneasy, torment oneself with or suffer from negative, disturbing thoughts. If you have ever felt easy or entertained by disturbing thoughts, if you experience this daily or weekly, then we need to look at that. Don't think that that's just how life has to be. We don't want to accept it because it's not supposed to be that way. Then it goes on and says, that's where we have been misled. We have been misled into accepting such disturbing emotions as a normal part of life. Certain things are not normal and not natural. They are really an affliction. Worry is an illness that can be corrected. Isn't that beautiful? You can correct it. The other part is, you and I are not going to be free from trouble. Jesus never said we will not have problems. He said, don't worry about it now. The first thing we've got to do is face difficulty. Isn't that what, in Islam, isn't that what we taught on a regular basis? That we have to learn to face difficulty? Well, dear family, here we are in the clinic looking for some solutions. Had a little more to add to that, but at another time we'll bring it up. Because right now what we're going to do is we have a doctor that's on post right now. He's going to come and give us something that can help us with some of the difficulties that we face in the message that he delivers to us today. You're going to hear a lot of different things, but there's going to be a stone hurled into the audience that's going to hit you in particular. So open up your hearts, open up your minds, and let's receive to this rostrum our brother, the Delaware Valley Student Regional Minister, Rodney Muhammad, with a round of applause. Assalamu alaikum. All right.
Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone? All praises due to Allah. In the most holy name of Allah, the one, the all-wise, the true, and the living God, we thank Almighty God, the revealer of all truth, the sender of all prophets, of whom we have made no distinction. We thank Allah for the revelation of the Torah to Moses. We thank him for Jesus and the gospel, and we thank him for Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran. And as a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's life-giving message, I'm most thankful to Allah for his own intervention in our affairs in the divine person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. A man prophesied, a man predicted. We thank Almighty God for his coming and finding one worthy among us that he raised into his own wisdom and his perfect idea of himself, so that he could make his student just like him. Yes, sir. We thank Almighty God for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And to the two of them, I am eternally indebted for a student, servant, and apostle of theirs. Another great student and star in the class of God and the scholarship of God, and that is their student, their servant, and apostle, but our leader, teacher, and guide today, a man filling the shoes of one predicted as Messiah, wiped completely in the Spirit of God, and anointed for this hour, even as Jesus said, the Holy Spirit is upon me, for I have been anointed to preach the gospel. We thank him for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yes. And in their names, let me greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Salam alaikum. We are happy to be out again and with another opportunity to share this great message in the time that we are in. And so with the time that we have, we talk about three things here. The knowledge of God is the most important and chief among everything, and then the knowledge of ourselves. And after that, we certainly learn about others, but what is crucial is a knowledge of the time. The time, and not what could be or should be done, but what must be done. It is too important. There's a consequence for not doing what we need to do in the time that we have. We're in a world that's on a timetable. If we weren't, we could just keep going like we're going. You wouldn't even have to consider changing. But there's a price and a penalty for not coming out of what we are in. So I thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the opportunity to serve in such a special way. I really thank him because I'm one of the few that didn't ask for it. He yanked me right out of the ranks and asked my wife for permission to use me. So that's where I am. Praise be to Allah. We don't know what we can do. I was saying at Jumar how God wanted to use Moses. First thing Moses did was start giving God a list of excuses why he should not be selecting me for what we have to do. And in a way, because we are the people of a man like Moses, that's what we are giving Allah. We're giving him all kind of excuses why we shouldn't be the ones. And so when we're called to do things, even if it brings discomfort, because the Quran describes us as not just the faithful men and the faithful women, not just the believing men and the believing women, but the sacrificing men and the sacrificing women. And sacrifice is not what you can spare in money, not what you can spare in time, not what you can spare in life. Sacrifice takes you beyond what you can spare. God is looking not just for more money, because money is the least. The minister teaches us of what we can give, but he's looking for more of our time. And most people would rather he just wanted money, because you could throw some money at something and keep on going. But God said, the world calls it money, but for you that say you believe, your money becomes a seed. That's interesting, because a seed can't do nothing for you unless it's planted. And once a seed is planted, you know, it's a blessing, but the seed is in trouble now, because something you didn't plant is going to come up with the seed, right? Called weeds. You can't go to the florist and get a bag, give me a bag of weeds. I want to plant some weeds to go up. So where the hell they come from? They just come up out of the earth on their own, but they don't show up till something's trying to grow. So God is showing us a sign, you know, that if I plant you in the earth now as a believer, weeds gonna start growing up around you. And so the farmer knows that once I plant something, I need some tools, because I can't just leave what I threw in the earth. When it comes up, if I want it to grow, then I got to back up what I planted with some labor. So in Islam, we don't say give in charity as much as the Quran says spend in the cause of truth. And when your money becomes seed, then Allah needs you. He needs, and you can't come without your life. And we would have no life. The Quran say, had Allah not given us life, right? So I want it, and I want your time, because time is life. Well, what you need my time for? I gave, you know, $1,000, because your $1,000 is a seed, and we need your labor to back up the seed to make sure it grows. How about that? So, you know, I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yeah. He had given his whole life so we would have an example of what that looks like. So as I watched before going around to some of the events around the city, C-SPAN of the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. You know, you could see how a man whose lifestyle was an errant lifestyle. You notice the shock value of the term homosexual, that's taken out. See, if you look at LGBT, they took the H out. Just look, and they put trans in there because it's a softer term. But Bayard Rustin was homosexual, but Bayard Rustin did not make his personal lifestyle to take a place above the Black Power movement or the Civil Rights movement. He was the chief tactician that helped organize for A. Philip Randolph the March in 1963. And another man who was speaking at that time with great force about the plight of the black man and woman was another man who chose the homosexual path of life, James Baldwin. But James Baldwin did not take his personal lifestyle and try to make that the movement. I'm going somewhere with this one. Because if James Baldwin had tried to be what they call a flaming type of homosexual, I don't believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would have ever had that man at his table. But he had that man at his table because that man was speaking strong for black people. And when you read James Baldwin's book, I remember having it years ago, and I was always fascinated by how he closes the book out, called The Fire Next Time. He talked about the FOI picking him up to take him to the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when he sat at the table and the messenger of Allah talked to him about the judgment, he said, he reflected on it, that Elijah Muhammad was talking about the judgment of the present world, and that he said, I should have saw it when Noah was given the sign of the rainbow, no more water, the fire next time. So that became the title of James Baldwin's book, but a lot of what inspired it was at the dinner table and the table talks with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So yesterday, 60 years later, what they're doing is taking this errant lifestyle, and it has first hitchhiked. It's a hitchhiker to the movement, right? And then after they hitchhike, now they hijack. And so there was more talk about getting rights for the LGBT community than there was black folks who came there 60 years earlier, you see? And probably the most powerful were the young people who came up in a group, and each one speaking from their various organizations, but they weren't caught up in a dream. And another powerful address was Van Jones. Now, I don't know if you pay attention to him. He was a correspondent there on CNN, but Van Jones talked about AI, artificial intelligence. See, and of all the cartoons that we grew up with, and most of them was animals, the first cartoon that I saw that was all peopled was the Jetsons, but ain't no black folks in the Jetsons. This is how they see the future, where artificial intelligence was working. They had a maid who had big hips, like supposed to be like the proverbial ancient mama, right? But it was a robot. Artificial intelligence, and this is how the current rulership using art is thinking for the future. You know, when you're an oppressed people, you got to study everything that's coming out from your oppressor, because if the man is going to keep you oppressed, he can't bring nothing out for your benefit. So you have to study it all. If it's a movie, you need to study it because there's probably a message in there. Now they'll say we paranoid. Y'all bringing up something every time in that, but this man has maintained a 400-year rule. And you can't substantially rule a people for 400 years unless you have mastered every level of their existence. every level. By the time you think you got a movement and you're saying God has brought us this far, but you don't want to accept the God that even brought you this far unless the white man accepts you. So he's got you in his framework. And now we can understand it being 60 years ago in 1963, but come on, in 2023. So as they brought the young people up, you saw the young people's language, they starting to separate themselves from the romanticizing of Dr. King's dream. Yeah, they're being affected, by another teaching. And God knows everybody's reminding them about Alabama down there on the docks, and the fight that took place, because they can see how we're reacting almost faster than you have time to think something through. Come on. So we're on the subject. I might as well go to the Holy Quran. And look what the Quran says first. Say, is there anyone among your associate gods who produces the first creation, then reproduces it? Say, Allah produces the first creation, then he reproduces it. How are you then turned away? Say. See, this was a God who already knew you was going to run into some arguments. And so that there would be no chance of us corrupting the response, he tells you exactly what to say. He already said to Moses, when I raise this servant, I'm going to put my words in his mouth. Is there any of your associate gods who guides to the truth? Say, Allah guides to the truth. Is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who finds not his way unless he's guided? What is the matter with you? How do you judge? Now, God obviously sees a people who have taken for guides people who can't arrive at the truth unless someone guides them to it. And if they can't guide you to the truth, are they more worthy to be followed, or the God who guides to the truth? We got folks here that are showing us in this late date, and I love what the brother said at the march yesterday. It's not Florida, it's the whole United States of America that wants to change the history books and turn chattel slavery into a trade school. So that way he don't have to face his crime. And he can say, hell, we did y'all a favor. And you'll think, oh God, this is the height of insult. But it's some black people buying into that. Yes, sir. So we want to just go back and revisit what we have, because you know what we're in? We're at a time where you can have something valuable and you give up appraisal power and give it to somebody else. And then somebody else can tell you whether it's worth something or worth less. So we're at a time now where they can't put out the light They seek to put it out, but we could put it out of our life. Why? Because somebody could devalue what you have. So we're at a time, and I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say this, some of us have grown tired of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, when you've grown tired of something and you feel like it no longer has worth and value, who helped you get to a state of mind to determine that it no longer has value? And so what we can see is that they're after us to try to uproot us from being rooted in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Fard Muhammad. That's the attempt right now. Yes, sir. And without a root in them, we're finished. We have no chance. So part of being rooted, we can see that Master Fard Muhammad, obviously, with just a question, who is the original man? That already says to you that the man that's ruling, it's not obvious that he's original. Original comes from the word origin. Like, who was here in the beginning? Don't tell me about who's in charge now. Who was here in the beginning? What was that man like? Because whatever he was like that Allah made in the first creation, now he's about to reproduce it. How do we know he's reproducing it? Because if he wasn't going to reproduce it, he'd say, who was the original man? But he's saying who is, present tense. That means whatever work took place in the first creation that the Quran is talking about, that work is taking place right now. So the original man, outside of being an Asiatic black man, he's cream of the planet Earth. We know we're made up out of the earth. The soil of the earth, our flesh, right? The stone of the earth, our bone. The water of the earth, our blood. We're made up. Earth, according to our lessons, is the home of Islam. Islam has a home. And if Venus and Mars is not the home of Islam, then Earth is the headquarters for the universe. And if we come up out of the earth, then whatever you do to us on the earth, we're made up out of it. So we have a history where you have beat us. We got a history where systematically we've been raped. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, when a woman is raped, the essence of the woman is murdered in that act. And he said the only real way for a woman to be restored after that kind of violation is for her essence to be restored. Because he said it was murdered, so it has to be restored in her. Right? And that can't happen except she's reconnected with the essence out of which she comes. Because the Quran said, surely we created man and his mate from a single essence. Come on now. So when a people have been raped, that means their garments are taken off of them and somebody has forced themselves on them and forced them to have intercourse with false teaching. So that a false teacher could take on a life in them, then the essence of that people has been murdered. And the only way for that people to be restored is the author of that essence has to come to them and give them his life. You can't bring it back yourself. That's why I said, when you were without life, Allah gave you life. We were without life in 1929. By 1930, life showed up on July 4th. And if we accepted his life, we started coming alive. It was only when we allowed ourselves to be uprooted from him that after he gave life, then he caused death. By 1975, death was caused. And we went away from him and we lost that life, right? And then he comes to restore life again because he's raised a servant. And he's proven that he's with that servant. There's no way that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan could draw people by the millions without the God who started it all in the first place. So we've been beaten, we've been raped, we've been jailed, we've been deceived, even murdered, and still we rise. Because you can take cream and shake it up and do everything you want to it, but in the end, cream still rises to the top. After what they've done to us, hell, we're winning Oscars, we're winning the Olympics. There's nothing that we're not showing them that we can excel in. Everything they put in front of us, we excel in it. And they're scratching their head. They're trying to figure out how the hell these people are still rising up after what we have done to them. They should have been destroyed by now. How did Simone come up with some moves that we didn't even think of? It's not even a competition out there. They're amazed at this. But the greatest thing that we have produced is Louis Farrakhan. See, you don't have anybody that's a match for him. Cream keeps rising to the top because we are the original man and woman. But we only know that when we're rooted in the one who brought us this knowledge. Root knowledge. Haven't you noticed something particularly about religion? The deeper your root in religion, it affects your behavior. If you only go back 2,000 years, they'll tell you you'll follow Jesus Christ even though you're eating sausages. Huh? And doing everything because your root is only going back so far. But look at the Jewish community. They read from the same book. But they go back further, so their root goes back further of what they know. It affects their behavior. But now comes Louis Farrakhan to preach what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad preached in the earth, and our root is going all the way back to the originator of the heavens and the earth. And it has done a 360-degree turn in our behavior. We live in the midst of the white world, but not of it. So we've taken Allah's color. And Allah's color is a knowledge that's at the root. Now, history, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, this is our guide. Look what he says. When you rob a tree of its roots, it cannot go deep into the earth to draw up the nourishment that will cause it to grow. So a tree, he says, without roots dies, and a people without a connection to their history is dead or underdeveloped because you have no connection deep into your past. See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he took a root deep in the knowledge that he gave us because he took us beyond this 6,000 years. And that affected us. Why? Because I was reading how somebody said the myth of Yaqub. But the English translation of Yaqub was Jacob in the Bible. And in the book of Genesis, that's built up out of the word genes, as I was saying to you last week, we can see that it took Jacob. He started with sheep that were black. And in the book of Genesis, it takes him 6 years, but when he's finished, the sheep have been completely altered from the condition that they were in when he started with them. He used a birth control process with these sheep and a breeding process, and he ultimately gets this sheep, and they're looking in amazement at what he's come out with. They're using sheep, that's symbolic. But that's people. And because Jacob wrestled with the angel, which was the original man's government of that time, he overcame them. They gave him the name Israel. Even today, we follow the prophets of Israel, but we don't follow Israel because we're the lost sheep in the house of Israel. This country started off with founding fathers who exhausted themselves in the study of the Bible because they wanted to take these 13 colonies and they wanted to build a model after the nation of Israel. That's why they put God in their document of freedom. But they could never live godly. So this becomes the house of Israel, and we become God's lost sheep in that house. That's our history. Now, if you go and you're suffering from something and the doctor starts asking us, well, what kind of symptoms do you have? What do you have? And when we begin to describe to him whatever the discomfort is, the doctor can study the history of different diseases and injuries and what that brings about. And because of that history that the doctor is able to go into, they begin to identify exactly what's wrong with you. And then they come up with a prescription that they can use. A lawyer's the same way. You have a case, the lawyer don't go make up something in the courtroom. The lawyer studies the history of cases till he finds a match for your situation and mine. Stare decisis. And when he goes to that, he brings that precedent to court because he wants to win, so that if the judge tries to counter what he's trying to achieve, he can show a case. He'll name the case and how the court ruled on that case, especially when they're going before the Supreme Court of the land. Are you following now? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, when you study how the doctor works, how the lawyer works, that shows us that history is a guide. Don't let nobody tell you, well, we don't need to learn about all that. That's exactly what you need to learn about. That's why we don't know what to do today. If you know who you were, then you'll know who you are. We can tell we don't know who we are because when you truly know who you are, then you know what to expect from yourself. We don't know what to expect from ourselves. We're always looking for somebody to tell us. And that's a big mistake because they don't know what to do with us now. They only knew what to do with us when we were chattel slaves. And look how he did. He saw himself in a light only because we couldn't see ourselves. That convinced him of who he was. And so we want to go into a little of that before we leave today, because they're going to use all of this. If you study the news programs that are on now and you listening to them talking, you see these black people, they bring them on to talk before us. And when they bring them on, they have them talking in a way like we're making some headway and white people are starting to accept us. that doesn't make you a better person in this universe. But see, there's a mindset that an attitude was developed in them, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, and they saw themselves as superior to everyone. You can't be superior unless somebody else is inferior to you. And we're not inferior to them because we're less capable. We're inferior to them because they position us that way. If a man has no capability, you can leave him with books and nothing will happen. But they made sure the 310 years that we were property. That's what chattel slavery means. That means you were literally property. You had no decision making over yourself. If he wanted to sell your wife off to pay a gambling debt, if he wanted to sell your children off from you, to pay some kind of debt or to purchase something else, you and I had no say-so in it. Are you following me now? You weren't allowed to be married. That's why the jump in the broom became a tradition. You were chattel slaves. I was a chattel slave. That means somebody else was in charge of us. When chattel slavery ended, they weren't sure what to do with us. That's why the White Citizens Council formed. That's why the Ku Klux Klan formed. They didn't form, they never needed them when we were chattel slaves. Are you following? Yes, sir. Even runaway slaves, there was no Ku Klux Klan chasing down runaway slaves. Do you realize the Ku Klux Klan originated in Tennessee? And the thought pattern was, we're going to scare these Negroes. They only went after so-called free Negroes. And he said, so what we're going to do, we're going to put some sheets on, put the eyes through there. It won't be Casper the Friendly Ghost. We want to make them think that the ghost of the past, the old slave masters and their overseers, that their ghosts have come back to haunt you. So it was all designed to terrorize us. So fear was used to try to back us up, even though they couldn't physically own us, but they scared the hell out of you so you never acted like a free man. And they would come on our communities and raid us and everything. But once you have a prevailing attitude, I want to go back to what the minister is saying, the attitude that you have in life, you don't even realize it. It's producing a belief system. And once you have a belief system, you begin to set up laws that regulate your life. Because a set of actions comes out of the way you think. That's why you have to be careful the mental paradigm that you're setting up. And for us, we're not even setting up our own mental paradigm. Somebody else is doing it. The only independent mind outside of the devices that Yaku's children are using today is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's the only independent mind now that we have. Before COVID set in, the title of Savior's Day was The Unraveling of a Great Nation. So if they're unraveling, and the man preaching it is not unraveling, then his mind is independent of theirs. And that told me, if I don't want to unravel with them, let me take away to my Lord. And let me focus on the man that my Lord has given us in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So if remedy is going to come, we got to know something about our history, and history is likened to a root. And this knowledge that we have called root knowledge, it's a root that goes deeper than anything that's on the planet. Nobody has taught people back to the originator that brought them into existence. And when you have a limited reach into the past, It's easier to teach you of a mystery God. We know that there's an unseen, but unseen don't mean unreal. So if you're on this roof and you just wanted to walk out over there, you say, I don't see nothing else there. You find out gravity is there, right? You don't have to see it, but it's real. You can't see the wind, but you see what's caught up in it. And it lets you know that it's there and it's real. They found that out in Maui, right? Because when them sparks from that power plant hit and that strong wind was coming, it just turned the whole island into one big torch. The fire was coming so fast, nobody could get away from it. It's horrible, a horrible thing to happen. That's a real catastrophe. And someone sent me yesterday morning, I watched, it's just tearing up Mecca. And the people were there trying to pray at the Kaaba. Everybody had to run. It's flooded. They're running. You see the wind tearing up things, cars flying in the air. And then the clock tower that oversees the Kaaba, after all that, lightning struck it. I said, man, and they're talking about a storm in Saudi Arabia. That's an attack. This is some deliberate stuff going on here, and it ain't Israel hitting them. And the Quran tells us about warning the mother town. And the messenger tells us this mother town is speaking of none other than Mecca. So, knowing who we are and knowing what to expect of ourselves, do you realize that's the pathway to get rid of racism? That's right. Racism, ending racism, is not in the hands of the white man. It's in our hands. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, see, once we really accept who we are, a member of the Creator's nation, and the messenger say, then act accordingly, you start getting rid of racism. Look, you see J.B. Stoner arguing with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man. You see other racists arguing over our inferiority. Dr. Shockley tried to prove that we were genetically inferior. That failed. I forgot the man's name, Brother Michael Z, but he did the bell curve. And he came out later and tried to show it. Even that failed. But when you talk with outright racists and bigots about us to try to prove our inferiority and superiority to the white man, notice they can only go back so far. You never heard them call the people that built the pyramids niggers. Why? Because something great was done. And it's far greater than anything they have. Like I said before, they got license and inspection to come and look at their buildings and make sure their buildings are still structurally sound. There's no license and inspection by the pyramids. Huh? And these buildings are these structures are over 5,000 years old and better. So there's a science and a technology that they're not in possession of. That's why they can't reproduce it. Are you listening to me? So the minister said, you don't kill racism by getting the white man to stop being a racist. The way to kill racism is through black accomplishment. Once you start building something we can't do till we unite, something we can't do till love shows up amongst us, that shuts their mouth. This never was about attacking white people. This is about trying to repair a people who've been under attack for 400 years. This is not about changing their mind. We got to change our minds. Root knowledge didn't come to root them out. It came to get us out from his hand and his plan. So you got a belief system. Now it's time to make a nation. And you know what? We're going to need a document, a constitution. Well, we talked about freedom already in the Declaration of Independence. We look like hypocrites talking about freedom, and we got these black slaves here. What we're going to do about them? Well, white is superior. Everybody knows it. So black must be inferior. Everybody should know that. Yeah, but we can't take another human being and enslave them and talk about we are free land. Then we got to dehumanize him and make him less than a human being. So the minister said, so after you have a belief system, once you really buy into this and you believe it, well, now you codify it in the law and you make us 3/5 of a man. They didn't just come up with a figure. And you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Master Fard Muhammad hates fractions. So you know he's got to get rid of that. But he could get rid of it, but if the people who would benefit from him getting rid of it don't accept him and don't accept the root knowledge that has come from him, you'll still be treated like 3/5 of a man. I heard all the complaints from C-SPAN, recorded all of them. Everybody's complaining about how they're taking the voting right. They're doing this. They took that. They didn't give us this. They took that away. Well, they're doing everything. What are you doing? See, no one, the closest to talk about what we should be doing were the young people, you know, that are coming up. And, you know, and remember, I read to you where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, not only is our captivity under a political arm, which is their government, but he said we're captive by their religion. He said a false religion is what's holding us captive. This is why in the Quran, Pharaoh is made to say, you know, everybody's afraid about the slaves getting riled up, Moses preaching and everything. He said, I'm afraid Moses is going to change the religion. Why? Because it's the belief system. It's what's in your heart. When Dr. King was fighting, they said, well, Dr. King, you know, you want whites to and blacks to love each other and be one brotherhood, you know, but that takes time. And Dr. King said, I agree that religion and education must do that. He said, but the law can keep him from lynching me. He said, that's why I'm fighting to change the law. Because if there's nothing to check him, then he'll still be lynching us. You got to remember, Dr. King is coming at the tail end of 100 years of lynching in this country. After slavery, for 100 years, you can secure newspaper articles about black women being burned at the stake, or black men being lynched and hung. And as I said, Friday at Juma, when they went for, and God knows, they used Schwerner and Goodman all day yesterday to try to show, poor Greenblatt was trying to show the harmony between the black community and the Jewish community. But even he said, are there problems? Yes, there are problems. Well, what kind of problems? Yeah, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has not been the only one called an anti-Semite. Now you've been picking up people along the way, and black people starting to wake up. Wait a minute, how come this person's anti-Semitic? How come that one and that one? So you know, and the young people who are in the hip hop world, they see their money being taken. They don't like the deals that are being cut. So they didn't say it's the Jews, but they say they're culture vultures. You know, a vulture is a scavenger. Yes, sir. It's not even a bird of prey. You don't see vultures hunting other birds and other creatures. The vulture's waiting for something to be dead. Then once it's dead, it comes in and feasts on it. Remember the minister talking about the vulture? When it's high up in the heavens, it has a sensor inside. It can hear your organs breaking down. That's why when people are out and they can't get no water or nothing, they see vultures circling. They're not going to attack till you're dead. But they'll be there after that. Well, they moving us out of our community and they coming in and they gentrifying in there because you're dead. The developers been here. They've been circling. They just waiting until you ain't got no more life in you, and you're not using no intelligence. They know you don't know how to fight them off. Then they swoon in and they start grabbing the houses one by one. And what has happened to many of us, we've sank down into what's called a subculture. The subculture, we got our own set of rules. You know, people from the subculture were talking to the minister one day, and the minister said, well, brother, if you heard of FOI, there's going to be retaliation. And the brother said to the minister, brother minister, everybody around you ain't really with you. The minister said, well, I want everybody to listen to these brothers. He said, because if you don't want to live by the law of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then here's the law of the jungle. Lie to us. It's tempered with mercy. You may get excommunicated for 90 days. Day 91, come on back. Steal from us. You may get 90 days. 91 day, you come back. Lie to them and steal to them out there in the jungle and see what the penalty is. Ain't no 90 days. It's a permanent arrangement. And now they got this drill thing going. They attacking people at funerals. They retaliating. One group drill on the other one and that with the rap, and they got all the stuff in. They used to do it with the young guys from the south side of Chicago and the ones from Philly. Then if they take somebody out in Chicago, then Philly got to match it. So you cross people under the law of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that law is tempered with mercy. Where the sinner is not, the sin is condemned, but not the sinner. The violation of the law is condemned, but not the lawbreaker. Because the setup is, go to your God, and your God will get you together. Come on back to the community. See? But you ain't going to be able to come back from crossing them out there in the jungle. The jungle life got a whole nother set of rules. And that's why when Ronald Reagan came into office, they wrote a book about him called Reaganomics. It's Bidenomics now. I don't know what that's coming to. But in Reaganomics, chapter 3 is called the subterranean economy. Ronald Reagan was convinced that there are people who live in the subculture, who have their own set of rules, and they're not as bad off as we think they are. In other words, we say, well, the statistics show he didn't graduate from high school, he don't have a job, he must be hungry, you know, he ain't got nothing to eat, he must be, but old boy is sitting there with shag carpet, right? He said, he don't look for a 1040 because they don't fill those out. Right. He got shag carpet. He got a Lincoln, but it's in his mother-in-law's name or something. She got it in her sister's name, but so he don't have nothing tied to him that shows how they. But Reagan said they live in. And didn't he find somebody from the south side of Chicago called the Welfare Queen? And the sister had a black diamond mink on and everything. She was getting 143 checks in every month. They know how to work this system. I wouldn't even know how to do that. And they showed a picture of her, and see, Reagan said, see, I was right, the welfare queen. He named her the welfare queen. But we were just working a system that got handed to us. You know, white people talk about us like we invented welfare. We found out they was getting it. We ain't going to nothing unless they getting it. That's how we live in this land. And we ran over there. Oh, dear God. So, Mr. Muhammad's teaching has given, and we got a deeper understanding from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it's root knowledge. It goes back to the root. Nobody can go past us on this one. Because you're back to saying, well, in the beginning, God said, let there be light. No, that ain't the beginning. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the beginning is when God began himself. There was no light till you had a God that could give light. And according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, hell, he wanted light. And because there was none, he said, then he became his own light. And he made himself to rotate around his own light, because in his light was the law that produces light. And by him rotating around it, it means he submitted to his own law. Go ahead. So you know you in a fake civilization when they tell you God don't have to bother with his own law. That's the way I was raised up in the religion. Yes, sir. None of that applies to God. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He just do what he want to do. That's what we were told. Yes, and I was told that because that's what somebody told him. Right. What were you told? Yeah. But now we learn that God does not call on the righteous to do anything that he hasn't done himself. Teach. Be righteous. That's a command from God. He don't say, I don't have to be righteous. He said, I was the first one to do it. That's right. Huh? Build something. Yeah, I'm not calling on you to build something and I haven't done. Look at your universe. I'm a builder. Look at the planets. Look at the stars and the galaxies. And I'm still building. I haven't sat down yet. Where are you sitting down? Huh? Should be fired up. Yeah, so couple points here as we get ready to close. Look at this. The ministers say religion sanctifies and sanitizes this root lie that keeps white supremacy going. It's not built on truth. That's why the truth is the greatest enemy to this world. That's right. Yes, sir. That's right. Well, you know, Farrakhan is doing a lot of talking. We need to start doing a lot of. His job is to talk. That's right. If you can't build a mind up, you can't build a world up. Whatever you're doing now, you're doing it based on the state and the condition of your mind right now. Right? We in a capitalistic society, we need capital. Minister said, well, capital comes from the Latin root capitis. Right? And if you cut the foot off, that's amputation. People have been to Iraq or Iran and they've lost legs. They had to cut the leg off. That's amputation. But that's not amputation when you cut the head off. Because capital is wrapped up in knowledge. You need knowledge to know how to get capital. Right. Yeah, so when your head is cut off, you're decapitated. That's not an amputation. In other words, you done cut your money off for sure now. So a person that doesn't use their brain is no different from a person that doesn't have one. The outcome will be the same. And you know you've given up when you live across the street from the library and you've never been inside. Now, you come from a people where it was against the law for you to learn how to read and write. And when you're in a capitalistic society, you can't make money giving all yours away. Right. So, you know, we've learned how to look like we the beneficiaries of a capitalistic society without really doing it. We go broke trying to look like we got something. Haven't built anything. And we've lost appraisal power. Because if you see yourself as a nigger, then that's the last place you're going to invest. But that's the only place the Honorable Elijah Muhammad invested. And look what he was able to build with us. We decided we were nothing, but he told us when you look at the black man, you're looking at God.
Yes, sir. Come on.
And he was just getting started. He's at the last phase of the first part of this first phase of his work. And so he had to do something to give us a sign of what could be done. So he took a few thousand of us with farmland, with trucks, with meat processing plants, stores, private school system, and everything, just to show you what you could do with a few thousand of us. Imagine a few million of us. And in truth, I don't mind saying it, you know, because people boast on it like, yeah, we got up and did this under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The minister said, no, he drove us. Right. Yes, he put his foot in our rear end, he said, and made us get out there. Real talk. And he started getting, you would say, bring me money, and then I'm going to start purchasing it, and somebody going to work it. That's right. Yeah. You know, I chair the Philadelphia Prison Board, and I'm peeved that we don't run prison like boot camp. We just let brothers sit up in prison and vegetate. They're not learning how to read, they're not learning, and some of the young brothers, I'm proud of them, they go to school there, and even the teachers tell me, they say that the tragedy here is not that they in school, the tragedy is for these young brothers in the classroom, the real tragedy is this the first time in their life somebody paid attention to them. See, when nobody pay attention to you, you can't establish value in yourself. And when you can't establish value in yourself, it's impossible for you to establish value in somebody else, so it's easy to take their life. Man. So religion can sanitize an idea, and it can hold us captive to the root lie of white supremacy. The most important thing I can say today is what the minister said. At the root of us is God. And he said, so if you're discomforted, and you feel discomfort when your self-esteem is not fed, then imagine how the God that's in you feels when you're not feeding him.
Go ahead.
He's not being fed in us. So when we were with the minister, he said, all of you need to get more God in your life. We're starving our faith and giving nourishment to our fears. And so we're afraid to do anything out of fear. Fear is on the list, but the messenger said fear is the number one thing holding us back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you can't perceive anything beyond the knowledge that you have. So if you have limited knowledge, and your knowledge is going to be limited if you're relying on this white man, because his knowledge has plateaued. He can't grow any further. And if his knowledge is plateaued and truth and knowledge is light, the minister said his light is flickering to show you that the energy behind it. See, when you got high wattage means how much energy is behind that which is producing the light. The Holy Quran is wattage. High level wattage. And the more we open up to the God that gives the wattage, which means his level of energy, then you're like a light. In a dark world, you are like a light. That's what makes you valuable to God. Our value to him is because of what he put in us. We'll cheapen that because we're in a mosque. Believers cheapen it because somebody's in a church or something. But if you don't come together, you can't generate a community of wattage to produce anything for people to look at. If there's a better place to go, write us. Tell us where it is. If you prove, because the messenger said it's not what you say, it's what you can prove. If you can prove it, he said, we'll break camp. Yes, sir. Show us a better place than what we have to try to come together to get our act together with God. So history shows us the real possibilities for us. And now, we're just producing a record at all levels of people doing fantastic things in business. The problem is we're siloed. And black people have been led down a path to think only as an individual, not as a nation. We use the word community a lot. But when we talk about community, we talk about helplessness. When you're rooted in the one who came and raised the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it said he would never fall victim to this world, so you can't think like a victim. You listen to Black Talk Radio all over the country. You read black publications. All you read is about victimization. They did this to us. They didn't accept us. Even the march yesterday, the theme that they kept resonating was, just being accepted by them. Dr. King had a dream we would all be together. Trying to make that. That's why it was a dream.
Right. That's right. Come on.
That was 1963. The minister said you needed to talk to the Dr. King of 1967. Because he woke up from dreaming. He realized something. And when you take those addresses that he gave in those last years, because you remember the Civil Rights Bill was signed and he saw it didn't end poverty. The Voting Rights Bill was signed. It didn't end poverty. So the last thing he was working on was the poverty of the so-called Negro. And he showed that it goes back to being denied the 40 acres and a mule, And you can't cheapen that, because even the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, had the black man been given the 40 acres and a mule, history probably would have read a lot different. Now, some people, you know what? You look at black people back then like we are now, where we love foolishness. If we built over 100 towns and didn't know how to read or write, that's telling you the black people back then, we thought much better about what we could do. We didn't want to fight white people. We just want them to leave us alone, where we could begin to build. They burnt down every town. Wow. So Moses got to change the religion, because that's the only way out. Why? Because if somebody cut us off from our root, and our root was with God, then they cut us off from our God. That's why Alex Haley was so excited after interviewing Malcolm X, and Malcolm said, well, you know, the first of our fathers brought over were Muslims, in that, you know, he's just writing for, what was that, Time Magazine or whatever, but a Reader's Digest. And he eventually went on a search for himself. And if we search history, it rewards you.
That's right. That's right.
His reward was he found his family line all the way back to the village of Jufari there in Africa. And he found out, yes, Malcolm was right. Elijah Muhammad was right. We were Muslims when we were brought here. And when you go back to the early documents of this land, even George Washington and that, they wanted to keep anybody from Islam from being brought here. Because you can't be a Muslim and a slave at the same time. It's nobody that's a real Muslim can be a slave. I don't care whether it was back then or today. And that's why Van Jones is saying, well, we're all talking about, we're still talking about inclusion and diversity. You all should be looking at AI, artificial intelligence, right? Because with artificial intelligence, that's going to be more racially exclusionary than the racism that we've lived under. And you know what? They can use a third party. Well, it's not me being racist toward you. According to the documents here, we've got Chat GPT. Yeah, come on. So, you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in a tireless way, has tried to work with us to get us to embrace this knowledge and show us that it's got value. If you've studied it long enough, yes, it will answer every problem that we have. And you don't have to look anywhere beyond us. And you worried about white people and racism, the more excellent we become, it kills the racist mind.
Come on.
So may Allah help us to get back rooted in him. All the scriptures lead to this hour and this man. And we got everybody trying to discredit it now.
Right.
And they're trying to wrap up their argument. I could see the ADL was on the ropes yesterday. And see, they realize when they sit with us in these various civil rights organizations, they said, well, you know, we were at that meeting, you know, the Negro seems on board. Everything's working. But the minister said, the children that we produce, he said, they're from us, but they're not like us.
That's right. That's right.
And so now, Mr. Greenblatt said, you know what, I'm talking to the wrong people. That's why he went to the Breakfast Club. Sit down with Charlemagne the God and some people and that. And people was calling it, they trying to pin them. Yeah, well, black people were back there, didn't they? Well, yes, there are some blacks, and see, Greenblatt and them, they got to try to figure out another way now, because the old model is not working. And the light that they had, that light is flickering, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you know, the wisdom of the present world has been exhausted. Now that they don't have it no more, the knowledge of this world, it has plateaued. And because of that, you keep trying to use some medicine that's lost its expiration date. You starting to come apart because you taking something that ain't working. And every black person that tries to stay in their camp under their tent, it ain't working for you either. The money is about to run out of value. You know why? Why shouldn't it? Because Master Fard Muhammad knows that's what's really got our attention. I got to make some money. And you're right. You know, they're going to keep charging us in this world. They ain't going to let you do it for free. But the messenger said, my bank, see, my bank is not First National. My bank is the hearts of my people. Right? And when you study target market news on Wabash Street in Chicago, and we spending every 12 months $1.3 trillion. You know how much a trillion is? 1,000 billion. You know how much a billion is? 1,000 million. So you could take all that off the table and just take one little $1 billion, which is 1,000 million. And with $1 billion, and there's 40 million of us, you could give every black person, every single black person $2 million, and we're spending more than some countries on the planet, but every time you see us, we crying broke. You know, so we're paying a price for our disconnectedness. And the minister said, well, then if we could just recover some of that, so let's not deal with 40 million of us, let's just deal with 16 million. And let's not deal with hundreds and thousands of dollars, let's deal with a nickel a day. He says, since the nickel alone has lost its usefulness, with a nickel that used to have a buffalo on the back of it, when I was a child, you could buy a Milky Way candy bar. The same Milky Way candy bar, I looked at it, it's the same one I used to get for a nickel, weigh the same thing and everything, costs $1.49. So you can give a child a nickel, they're going to look at you like you crazy. What's this? What am I supposed to do with this? So since we can't buy nothing with it, the minister said, let's all 16 million of us, let's just take the nickel and put it in this thing. And he said, in 12 months, you have put in $18.20 each. It comes to about just under $275 million. So he said, there's a cotton farm for sale for $34 million. Well, I ain't picking no cotton. They don't go out and pick cotton like that no more. They got machines. You just ride it through and get the cotton. 34 million. 70 million He found a ranch. He said it's for sale, 70 million. So with all these cattle, you know, you got steaks, hamburgers, you got all kinds of sirloin. What you want? What you want? I'm buying. You know, no. You got New York strip, everything. But look, the hide. You got leather coats, purses, shoes. We buying shoes from Italy and all. Just think about it. Then he said for $1 million, there's a shoemaking factory in Jamaica for sale. So we done spent 70 plus 34. So that's what, about 100-something million, a little over. And then $1 more million, you got a shoemaking factory. If we stop right there, look how many people, look how many jobs we can make. Well, what we're gonna make with the cotton? We're gonna make socks, pillowcases, sheets, curtains, jerseys, underwear, everything. And you sell them to all these countries around the world, especially with people of color. We populate most of the country. That's jobs. Then he said, in 1 year, with 272 million, we got 105 HBCUs. He said we can purchase 37 of them outright, campus and all. That means we would own the school. Now we determine, who's going to teach us there and what we're going to learn, right? You said, well, we don't know everything. They kept us from a lot. Let me tell you something. You put the right salaries together, you can get teachers from Germany and everywhere to come teach you what you need to know. You ain't got to ask these crackers for nothing. In fact, we need a movement where we're not asking them for something. We've been asking them since we've been here, and look what we got. Well, y'all talking about hating white people. You worried about somebody hating white people. We're talking about you loving yourself. What, I said something wrong? 1 year. So it's 291 million. So it's even more. Yeah, give me that money too. Yeah, no, we get some. But I've said enough today. But let me just. This is something we really need to think about. And the minister showed us with ease how this could be done. He said a nickel a day is painless.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's the whole conversation in Black America. You get your nickel? Yeah, oh, that's right. I got to get my nickel for the day. I mean, in less than a decade, you would see us rise. And we're getting all the farmland, and the farmland that's for sale, the land is not as fertile. And so the minister says, so they're going to sell us the worst land. But the Son of Man,
Come on.
he makes it rain, hail, snow, and earthquake.
Go ahead.
We can change the land. Our God knows how to change the land and make the land into what we need. They pushed the red man, they kept pushing them away. Finally, they left him with some rocky ground and everything, found out uranium is in there. Now he wants that. Yeah. So I thank you all for being out today. And Assalamu alaikum. Look, I don't know if there's anyone out for their first, second, third, or fourth time, but this is a time that we ask you, do you feel what you're hearing is the truth and good for us as a people? And if you do, know that we got it all from our teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is uniting by inviting our people from all over the country. And so there are meetings going on like this where our people are accepting. And, you can't join. Why? Because Allah already created you what you are. If you joined us waiting for us to make it, we can't make that. What we try to do is teach and train to wake us up to what he's already done with you. But your value to him is when you come to him that he can use you in a special way to bring about the liberation of his people. We're never going to get real value here. And I remember if you use the word white supremacy, most black people stay away from you. You heard him? He's extreme. Now look at them. They saying it on every program.
That's right.
And we're backing them up against the wall, and they're coming out and they're showing their colors. And you know, pray for our sister, what's her name, Fannie Willis. You know, because they want to hurt her. You know, and I pray that Allah keep a hand of protection around her, because you know, they may not act like it, but this hurt them. The mug shots, being fingerprinted like a common criminal and everything, and they've always operated above their own law and everything, and a black woman is bringing them into a state of correction and everything. And see, they don't see no black men really speaking out strong about the threats that are coming against her. So, you know, to them, she's on her own. Have you heard somebody talk about protecting? I just saw something on social media saying pray for her, but you know, ain't nobody down at the courthouse with her. And so I don't know what's going to happen, but they're radicalizing people, you know, to come up against her. And so, you know, I just want to put that out there to pray for her. And our sister that's in Washington, the judge, because Trump is, and he's trying to put out language to excite people, radicalize them, to somebody cuckoo will go out there and just try to do something and everything. But our sister did a bang-up job. All of them mug shots. They all had to come in and turn themselves in, or else somebody was going to arrest them. And I understand. And you know, now that they went to check her history out, they thought they had a black woman who just had no sense of consciousness. But they found out she's a former member of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. And so the last thing she is scared of them, because if she was scared of them, she wouldn't have went this far. Huh? Oh, yeah, in D.C., yes. So the sister in Georgia, in Fulton County, you know, the way they trained the Black Panther Party back then, they were ready to stand up. You know, they were the ones that showed, hey, we can carry guns, we can do all this. Now we don't do any of that. But you better believe they shook this country up. So you know, inshallah, she will be able to get through this. But Donald Trump is trying every law, rule, and regulation they got in this country. He's testing them on all. For some reason, the way it seems Allah is using him, he's testing everything. So on his way to jail, he's just showing the hypocrisy in this land. And so now they want to indict her, and they're trying to get the Congress to go. They've gone crazy. They're desperate. And all of that just takes me back to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the unraveling. You know, when you coming apart, it shows you ain't giving no careful thought to what you're doing. You're just moving desperately. First they was after Hunter Biden. Now that Trump is about to go to jail, they done turned on her. We want to look her up and indict her. You know. So look, I'm going to take leave of you, Brother Joseph, will close us out. You know, we have a big meeting coming up on the 10th, Sunday the 10th of September. And a new society, an educational revolution in Black America. Is it taking place? And if so, who are the revolutionaries? Who's making this change? Because if we can't change up here, there won't be any change. Not worth talking about. We'll go down with the same one. And I'll talk more about the dollar then and what's happening on the global market. But the government will fall, the minister said, right after the dollar. And this will be a great fall in the earth, and people will know it, and they will see the smoke burning from afar. And all that will happen, whether we stay here or not. That's why we have to know the time. And what must be done, we better hurry, the messenger said. Yeah, and the messenger said, you must remember, we're in a hurry. We don't have a lot of time. And you know, the unfortunate thing is, a lot of people that think we have a lot of time, when it becomes evident that we don't, then they'll be crushing the doors down like they were in the days of Noah. Noah said, no, we closed the Sunday meeting. We not having no more. It's raining. And the scripture says they were beating on the door, but the Lord had closed the door. And if you wanted it open, you don't go to Noah. You have to go to the Lord that raised Noah. So Jesus says, so as it was in the days of Noah, that's how it's going to be in the last day. That's why I use the Sunday meeting, because, you know, Noah, I don't know if he was holding the meetings on Sunday, but whatever day he was holding them, he told Allah, I did preach to them. I held meetings. I tried to tell them, you know, and now what I preach has come upon them. So Brother Joseph's going to take over. Thank you all again. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Keep that applause going. He's our Delaware Valley student, Regional Minister Rodney Muhammad. Dear family, thank our brother for that wonderful, wonderful message. Power, thought-provoking, life-giving, spirit-raising. So, dear family, at this time, he's done the acceptance. We're going to move very quickly into our charity portion of our meeting. So at this time, if anyone who would like to give $150, $1,000, if you got $1 million, we'll take that too. All praises due to Allah. Brother's hand goes up back here. Brother Divine's hand is up. He has given, and I'm listening and waiting on this side. Brother Divine gives $100. Give him a round of applause. All praises to Allah. Thank you, beloved. Anyone else? Righteous competition who would like to match what our brother has just given. So right now on the floor, $150 is on the floor right now. I see movement over here. I see heads looking over here. Brother Charles, $100. Righteous competition. He matches what our brother Divine has just given. $150 on the table. On the table. I'm coming to your number. We're going to move very quickly. We've been well fed. Time is of the essence, and we value your time as we value ours. Dear family, yes, sir. Brother Sheldon, $100. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, Brother Sheldon. All praise is due to Allah. Is anyone else? 150. I'm going to stick with it. It seems like it's working. 150, 50, 100. Anybody else? Another hand goes up. Our brother Shaheed, his hand is up.
Brother Shaheed, $50.
Brother Shaheed gives $50. Give him a round of applause. All praise is due to Allah. Y'all ain't mad at him, is you? Don't be mad. If you ain't mad, give him a clap. Praise be to Allah. All praise. $50 is on the table. 50, I'm coming to your number. Are there any $20 donators today while that 50 is marinating in your mind? Any $20 donators? $20. I see heads moving, hands waving. I see.
Battle, $20.
Brother Battle, $20. Thank you, Brother Battle. Hand go see Brother Michael Z. He's waving something on this side. Go ahead. Brother Michael Z gives $20. Praise be to Allah. Oh, and by the way, anyone downstairs, if we could get a messenger to come upstairs and let us know what they're holding down there, we will patiently await your arrival. Meanwhile, Brother Jamal gives $20. Thank you, Brother Jamal. Praise be to Allah. Anyone else? $20. $20. I'm coming to your number as we count down and time is moving. I'll wait for that messenger to come up the back steps or the back front steps. Was what's going on downstairs. I know something is always happening. We can't see it all, can't see through the floors, haven't developed that tune in yet, but I know something is coming and something is happening. If not, I know the secretarial department down there will handle it. So dear family, are there any more $20 donators today? If not, if you have 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, at this time, just pass the receptacles and we will move right on. So at this point, we thank all those who were able to give by Allah's permission. Thank you so much for your charity. And to those who just didn't have it to give and you really wanted to, a monetary gift today, continue to hear the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as represented by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But let me not be remiss in saying to you, thank you for the first act of charity today that you gave of your own time. Thank you for being here and giving that. That is the biggest portion of charity that we could ever receive, is that your bodies are here to hear this teaching. So, dear family, we don't have any, as the receptacles leave the floor, there aren't many messages to give as far as announcements. What we have downstairs, there are some food items at the secretarial table or at the tables downstairs near the secretarial table. There's some table things there, food items, and I believe the MGT has prepared bean soup for a small donation, and you can purchase that. All right, dear family? So if all hearts and minds are at ease, thank you again for being here. And there are no further questions or thoughts. Let us close with prayer.
Prayer time.
In the manner in which you are most comfortable, follow along silently. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for aid. O Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, and not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, and nor of those who go astray after hearing Thy teaching. Say, He, Allah, is one. Allah is He upon whom we all depend. He neither begat, nor is He begotten, and there is none like Him. I bear witness that none deserves to be served or worshipped besides Allah, who appeared to us in the personage of Master W. Farad Muhammad. We're eternally grateful to him for giving to us his wise choice in the messenger, Messiah, the exalted and living Christ, and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And to the two of them, if we lived 1,000 years, we can never thank them for the messianic figure that was placed in our midst as a gift to us from the two, Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in the Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is in their names that we pray. Amen. Dear family, let's go in peace. But remember, we are not nonviolent with anyone who is violent with us. Assalamu alaikum.